that all the people who are not able to dial in. So should be recording. So please fire when ready. So Sri Lakshmi, you want to ask your question?
Can I ask?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. So I was basically thinking about what project to take up for this final project. And like I told you, like I was a PYP educator till last year, and this is my first year in the middle years program. So yeah, definitely IB as a website, it has a lot of resources and all that. But when I take it to the class and I take the teacher-student ratio, it is like 1:25. So, one problem I really face is implementing totally the inquiry method and the differentiation. And the main problem where I am facing is in the assessment criteria. How because it is level based for years 1 to 3. I teach MYP 1 to 3 integrated sciences. So I was thinking can my research project be centered something around these what I spoke just now about more explicit conceptual based understanding about the assessment criteria, especially for new teachers like me who are new to the MYP program, how to implement it because there are one or two exemplar resources which are there in the IB website, but that guidance alone is not enough. So I had like a doubt like what kind of projects I can take up, and also about the fictitious and the non-fictitious one. I know we are not collecting the real data, but do I need to get it signed from my coordinator?
Okay, so let's answer that really quickly. No. So the fictitious letters, you can write the real person's name and information, but they don't need to sign it because you're not engaging with them. Yeah, so they truly are fictitious. But we just want you to see this is exactly what you would provide. So when you graduate and you go on and you do your own research, you will need those permission letters for whatever study. So I mean, I have one and it's almost exactly verbatim for my doctorate. So that's just kind of, so no, you don't actually have them signed. You just pretend. As to the first part, you're thinking exactly what we want you to. So you're identifying a systemic problem, which is, if I'm understanding, the teachers, at least at your site or just IB wide, need a framework of some kind that provides them a more comprehensive look at differentiation and assessment. That's absolutely a product that would be graduate level and would bring value to the education community. So that's kind of what we're looking at. You know, sometimes we get an intervention, which is what we're calling the product is the intervention. So it sounds like, oh, I have to do something. No, you're just designing an intervention. You're not actually going to implement. But we'll have some people design a handbook or a collection of lessons on turtles. Okay, that's all right. I mean, you know, it's a collection of lessons. And if you do it well, then it's research based. Okay, but it's not graduate level. Like you're not like, think big, not Jennifer's classroom. And you are thinking big. And that's exactly what I want. So where you're going to start out, if you're writing, it's kind of a curriculum framework. You know, if it were me, I would go to ChatGPT or Copilot and tell them your idea and then let, I always call it a him. My chat GPT guy is Roger. So anyway, if I say him, that's why. But just tell AI, I'm thinking about this a framework of some kind to help teachers in IB and let it tell you here are the things you should include. That's the right use of AI. Let it guide you. And then the hardest part is going to be finding secondary data where somebody has investigated assessment in an IB setting. Maybe not in an IB setting, but you're going to have to look for a study where somebody, like I said, investigated alternative assessment or whatever, wherever your idea is going. Because what you're doing is using their study to prove that your idea is legitimate. So if I say, I always use this one because it's simple, but when I taught one of my years in 6th grade math, the kids came back from lunch and I could not they were all riled up from the drama, 6th grade drama. And so I was like, what can I do? Because I got to get these kids down. So the reading coach said, why don't you read to them, read a chapter out of a book every day and just get them calmed down. And that works great. Now, the problem was I didn't really know why it was working. I didn't know maybe there were better books I could have read, just that whole evidence-based thing I did not have, but it worked. So if I said, I want to come up with a framework for struggling learners in a poverty setting to reduce drama at lunch, I have to go find a study where somebody did that. Somebody looked at reducing drama for struggling poverty students, right? It's out there. Somebody's done something like that. And so that's where your secondary data comes from, because you'll say, according to Sanchez, here's what he did and it worked. So I think my idea is going to work too. And that's how you use that secondary data. Because, in an actual study, like we used to do, you took 8 weeks to design your intervention. And then the next 8 weeks, this class was putting it into practice and looking at the results. Now, somebody else has done the study. Somebody else has gotten the results. You're analyzing those results to say, well, in Sanchez's study, it worked. In Wolf's study, she did things a little differently and this happened. Put that together. But that researcher, your secondary data, primary to them, they did all the hard work. You're just doing the analysis. And you can find the data in any research article. So when you go into the library, your keywords are something like assessment alternatives for MYP science. Like I would do that and see what comes up. And then in all those journal articles that you've been reading over the year or years that at UO People, that's where you're going to find your data, because that's what they do. They report their study, they report their findings. You probably want 2 or 3 studies to make sure, yes, Sanchez worked, but that doesn't mean that Wolf's worked. Right? So you want to look at more than one. I think most, not I think, the accepted literature review has at least 6 studies that you have reviewed. We don't require that because it's a master's, but you need to find more than one study, more than maybe 2 or 3. They're all very similar, and look at their findings and then say, it worked for Sanchez and Wolf, it should work for me. That make sense?
Also, I wanted to ask, I don't know if it's right to ask, but can we see a sample of the like any sample, just for an idea how it should look in the final this thing? Where do we get to see at least a sample?
Right, an exemplar. So my my concern with I do not mind you having one, because I run it through the plagiarism checker, and if it's plagiarized, but is that So yes, I will give you one, a really good one. I've got several, but understand that your study is going to be yours because it's
Yes.
so narrow. That's the thing about, people will say, ah, you have a doctorate, you can do anything. Well, I can do this because my study was on one thing. And so, yeah, theoretically, I know how to do research. But so if I show you a study of someone who looked at gamification in high school laboratory setting science classes, that's really specific. So I kind of feel like it might do more harm because you're going to try to fit your idea into their paper. And if you look at the template, that's the format. Or look at any study, that's the format. You have to show your background. Why did you do this thing in the first place? What was the problem that
The proposal template which was
the
posted.
template is? That's I don't mind showing you one, certainly, but I just don't know how much value it's going to be because all the major headings will be the same. Purpose statement, problem statement, background. I mean, they're all going to be the same, but then you might have additional information that you need to include, like you're going to have to explain the IB, the IB framework, and because assuming I know about IB as a reader, if I don't, your study is not going to make any sense because I don't understand IB. So your rationale is going to be different from Oscar's because you have to provide different information. Oscar might be approaching, say, deaf students. That's very unique
Completely
and
different.
completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So what I'd like you to do is wait a couple of weeks when you start getting into your rationale. And then if you still feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, because I get it. I like to see an example. It's called springboard. You have a foundation and then you spring. That's me. And I think most people want some kind of visual. So I don't mind providing it, but I want you to start out a little bit. And then if you still want to see it, absolutely, I can do that maybe in the next Teams meeting. Because I'm not worried about plagiarism, you know. I mean, you could plagiarize a study, right? So it's just, I don't want to get you thinking yours has to be just like this person's because,
No, no, we'll start working and definitely I know you're
yes,
going to guide us.
yes,
So maybe definitely we'll start working on it and start building on it step by step.
yes.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So, yeah. So I, I, I feel like this is such or in my experience with students, it is so foreign. So I try to break it down. The deliverable is, you know, here you go. Here's a framework. That's the deliverable. And the deliverable needs to be, hey, this is attractive. It's something I want to read. If there's too much information, I'm not going to read it. Especially teachers, right? We don't have a lot of time. So that's the deliverable. Here you go. It's $10. Okay. For the rationale, it is just that. It is, why does the deliverable exist? And why is it designed like it is? The rationale is going to tell me why that deliverable is what it is. Okay. So I don't want anybody working on their deliverable until at least week 3 because you need to get through the proposal and I can go, your ideas, I get it, but let's work on it a little bit. And then week 2, you start writing your rationale. I don't want anybody thinking about their deliverable. So my timeline is different from you all people, but I'm the one doing the grading, right? So just focus on that proposal, really thinking about what problem am I trying to solve? That's the identification. And then the research questions are something like, how does alternative assessment improve learning outcomes? What do teachers need to
Understand the
be
marking
fully
criteria.
prepared to assess right? Like, so those are your research questions, and those start guiding you. And then you are simultaneously finding studies that other people have done that will tell you, oh, I didn't even think about that. Wow. Okay. So that's what I want the first 2 weeks minimum. I don't really care about the deliverable until like unit 5, because it, in my experience, it kind of comes together at once. You write your rationale and you're thinking about things, and then you go and you get this burst and you just start working on the deliverable, right? That's, to me, that's how the course ought to be designed. But I think it's very good the way it is. It's better than it was, but I just think it's, I think it can be confusing at first. So I would just rather everybody work on their proposal and then their rationale, and then start thinking about the
And
deliverable.
the deliverable. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, I'm not starting to ask for the deliverable until like unit 5, and then I go, why don't you send me what you're thinking? Because unfortunately, I have people that don't work on their deliverable until unit 7, and then it's not right. It's it's not going to meet requirements. Now you're taking an incomplete, so you can finish your deliverable. So that help? Yeah, there's my
Definitely.
little
Thank you so
tripod.
much.
See how much they look alike? I mean, they're like the same color, they're, so I have to go, who are you? Or this one wears a collar. So if I can hear his collar, I know that's Kevin and that's Bubbles. But anyway. Yeah.
My
So
kids
Oscar,
loved
do you
it.
have any
Yeah.
thoughts about what you're doing?
I have an idea to want to develop since long time ago, and now I'm thinking I have the opportunity to do it. Is to figure out how can I make the MUN as part of the classes. It's not like a project
I
external, but
don't
I want to,
know. MUN?
yeah, model
Model
of United
United
Nations,
Nations. Model
What?
United Nations.
model of United Nations, and the
Oh,
simulation
oh, so you
of United
teach,
Nations.
oh,
So
for like
I'm
civics.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm humanities teacher, social studies, philosophy and economics and business, whatever. But the
Okay.
idea is usually model United Nations is something that happen in clubs after classes. Yeah,
Right. I've heard
so
of it.
students
Yeah.
that are interested to work, but I have integrated that into the curriculum with my students since fifth graders. So they learn how to debate, they learn about how the society works, how the MUN works, but actually we involve making different committees that are interesting for students. So if I'm working for example, environmental problems, so I can work a committee about environmental. But I want to, for example, this year I have the World Cup. And football is pretty important in the most of the world, but not the United States. But everyone was uh, pretty interested in the World Cup. So my idea, for example, is create a committee of FIFA, and the idea is that can debate about the sports or
So what
Olympic
is,
Games.
okay, so you're kind of designing a framework for MUN, or?
No, my idea is that it's not just a club, but I want to integrate it into the class, into the curriculum of
Okay.
the classes, social
Okay.
studies.
Okay. I
Uh,
love it. So that's going to be a curriculum framework.
yeah.
So you would be served by AI. What do I need to include in a curriculum framework? In fact, I have a student who is had to take an incomplete because she created a curriculum framework, but it wasn't one. So I said, go to Chat GPT and ask it what is in a framework. It laid it out. She sent it to me. I was like, perfect. So now she's doing the research on her own to design that framework. And that's what it sounds like you would be doing.
Okay, yeah, but Dr. Wolf, my main question is, at the end we need to create a paper, like a paper to publish or something like that.
So
Is the
you
is the
have
final idea?
you have two products. One is the deliverable. So like for you, that curriculum framework, you can hand to school leadership, say, implement these standards at these points, and here's how you do it. The second product is the report, the rationale, and you have a template for that because you have to prove to your school leadership that here's the research that says this thing will work. And that rationale is comprehensive. It's problem identification, who's it for, why are these the stakeholders, how's it going to affect them? I mean, it's very intense, and it makes you think about what you're creating, because the deliverable is great, but it's just a product. The rationale designs the deliverable because it's the one, the rationale gives you the data that say this is going to work and this is what you
Okay.
should be doing. So you
Yeah.
actually have two products in the end. For first week, you have three because you have your proposal and your two fictitious letters.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. But I was thinking that was an academic production for no, for a journal, but it's just for the school that you need to create the work.
That I'm grading.
Yeah, but
What do you,
I understand. I was thinking originally that the idea was to create a publishing work for a journal, for a journal,
oh,
but now they understand it's a document for the school management
yeah.
of the school
However,
leaders.
I would say that the rationale should be publishable. Like that's how comprehensive it is. It's going to, so when you conduct a study, you have like 10,000 words, but when you publish, they might give you 5,000. So your rationale is that 10,000 word thing. Hand it to them. Now, are your school leaders going to read it? Probably not. But is the curriculum supervisor going to read your rationale? Probably. That's their job. They want to know the thought that you put into this product. Before I pay you $10, I want to know that this thing is research evidence based and that you've thought about everything. You've thought about ethics, you've thought about limitations, you've thought about alternative perspectives. Okay, so like a counterclaim. So it is comprehensive, it is intensive. And that's why I want you focusing on that, because your deliverable, you can always change. I mean, it's an edit, but your rationale is research based. So you have to find that research, you have to analyze it and interpret it. And that takes some time. And meanwhile, you're bringing in, theoretically, all the classes you took at UO People, the barriers to learning, what is it? Positive classroom environment or whatever that one's called, context in educate, like all the classes you've had, you're bringing in. Oh, I remember that concept. That's why we have you doing the portfolio. So, because ideally, all this time you've been saving this research and these papers and even the discussion forums because, oh, how cute, because they're going to serve as research for you because you've done a lot of this research already. Like you've already researched how to implement assessment because you took an assessment class, if I remember right.
Assessment and evaluation.
Yeah, yeah. So you've already got that. So go find those papers. And that's why that portfolio has to be so organized because, oh, I know. And that was my problem with my doctorate. I had done so much work, 10 classes. And then you start your dissertation. It's like, I didn't organize my work. So I had nothing to help me. I was like starting all over because I didn't organize my classwork. I didn't even name it. I called it Unit 1, Assignment 1. How is that helpful? Right? So you've done a lot of this research and hopefully your portfolio or your Google Drive or whatever you're using is organized very well and you can find where was that tags, right? Where was that thing on alternative assessment? There are like 4 papers on alternative assessment. And then
So
you
I have a
cited,
doubt on here.
what now?
Sorry to interrupt. I have a doubt here. We have organized our portfolio, MEd portfolio, which we were submitting for each course, for all
Mhm.
the 12 courses which we have taken before. So this rationale, should it be taken from what, like suppose if I'm talking about assessment, should it be connected to what I had put it in the,
Absolutely. Yeah, I
okay,
mean, you're not plagiarizing, okay? So know that because these former papers aren't published. So yeah, if you already found that Howard Gardner said this about assessment, absolutely. Now, I would go find that same article and make sure 10 classes later that you interpreted that correctly back then. You know what I mean? Like you've grown. So you may see that topic, you should see it even more broadly because you've learned in addition. But yeah, absolutely. Go to your portfolio, find that paper, write it. I mean, that's what researchers do. I already have that research. I don't have to start over. But if you're like me, nobody told me, maybe I should have known, but nobody told me you're going to need all this. I don't know what I thought. I just was
so when
uninformed. So I
you
learned
did,
the hard way.
you did not have the template where after every course you had to submit the practice-based
No,
artifact and the research-based.
the only reason I saved anything in my portfolio, now again, I have them on my drive, but they're not named.
Yeah,
They're,
I got it.
I don't even know what class I got, right? So yeah, if I had experience, I guess, with online learning, maybe I would,
Right, I
now I
can
do a whole
understand
lot
that.
better job. Like now the
Mhm.
title of my paper is very explanatory. Like I know exactly what that paper is. But you live and learn. So now when I teach 5010, I can say, hey, y'all, organize your stuff so you can use it later because mine is worthless, unfortunately. So yes, go use all that stuff you've already found. Yeah. Okay. Oscar, anything else?
No, no, not for me. I'm
Okay.
just trying to figure out how to work during the 8 weeks because it's one because kind of project takes time and 8 weeks is a short time to develop all the project. But
It is. And that's why I say it is intense. This class is no joke, but it is, I think, designed in a linear way. You grow as you go, but then you can revisit. It's not, nothing is, so when you turn in part 1, which is the planning, and then you're typing part 2 and you're like, oh, I should have put that in part 1. Yeah, add it, put it in green font so I can see it. But yeah, that thing is evolving. But the classes each week is linear. So you're going to do part 1 first. Then you're going to do this in part 2, and it all builds to part 3, which is evaluation and findings. So I think it's well done, but it is no joke. I mean, you're going to be consumed with this project, but I think it works well that way because you're in it. Like you're at your mom, visiting your mom, and you're thinking about, oh, this is what doctors do. Maybe teachers could, or whatever. You're just gonna be thinking about it, and you're gonna be so aware of how to make it better. And now the problem becomes you can't research everything and you don't need everything in your rationale, but more is better. And with academia, repetition is fine. More is better. So if you say, well, I already told them this in section 1, tell them again in section 2, because you don't want your reader to have to go back or do control F. Where was he talking about assessment? Tell them again, right? So yeah, I'm excited for you. Just get started, just jump in, do a concept map, or just start writing. The proposal is easy because it's asking exactly what we want to know. But just realize,
Can we have like two proposals? I mean, I'm just asking. We need to have only one, right?
the reason you want to keep it to one is because you're going to be overwhelmed with what do I research. So that's why these topics, so I will read to you some of the topics that are past studies, I guess. Let's see, 59, 10. Okay, so final studies. All right. So for example, I've got many clicks, but that's good. That works for me. Okay, so here's one, reducing the gender gap in mathematics. Okay, that's not bad. It's not super like, okay, we're talking about gender. Oh, did I just open guided mindfulness interventions in ethics training for therapists, examining the influence of somatic and affective approaches on transferential occurrences. Very narrowly focused because you can't possibly research. You're not trying to be an expert in assessment. You're trying to be an expert in alternative assessments for deaf students, or this one, impact of instructors' knowledge of adolescents' behavior and brain development on students' engagement, motivation, and academic achievement in an urban secondary school. So I don't want you to worry about your title. I just want you to start that proposal. If you change your mind, it's no problem. If in unit 3 you say, this is going off the rails, I want to start over, I will say, well, I wouldn't do that, but that's fine. And the only reason I wouldn't do that is because you only have 8 weeks. But just the proposal will really hone in your thinking with what exactly am I trying to solve? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? For you, it's that the teachers don't have training, where I don't quite remember, but something like that. Oscar, I'm not sure, implementing MUN, right? So Oscar, your title would be something like integrating the model United Nations curriculum into the regular curriculum for 6th grade students in Columbia. I mean, it is that exact. Or in an IB setting, something like that. But you're only looking at that very narrow topic. However, if it's too narrow, you can't find any research on it. So, it's a balance.
Yeah, I get it.
But it'll start coming together.
Yeah.
But still, thank you so much. Like I told you in the
You're
starting,
welcome.
this is the first time an instructor has taken time,
Yeah.
because so many times I actually wanted to ask so many doubts, but then there was never a meeting face to face. So this means a
Yeah.
lot, a
Well,
lot.
I'm glad. I guess I'm fortunate, you can see how demanding my cats are, right? Like I have a lot of time on my hands. So I'm appreciative of y'all aligning with my time. Like that's the deal. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I was able to get up and exercise, but I know there's somebody emailed me, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning for them. And it's like, oh, I wish I could accommodate everybody. So sometimes I will offer one really late on a Friday night, and that works maybe but then maybe it doesn't work for everybody. So anyway, I appreciate you dialing in. To those who could not, I get it. I wouldn't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I told him, I said, please do not get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to join this. It's not that big a deal. So anyway, so I am going to record this and upload it for everybody because I think we talked about some good things. I mostly did, of course, the talking, but the reason I like to, you know, have y'all on here is I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're worried about. I know what I would be worried about, or maybe students have said they're worried about this, but I'd rather hear it from y'all because it's real time. But I do want to say I'm never going to let anybody fail unless they're just like not doing anything. I mean, I'm not going to do it for you, right? But also in you after you submit unit 8, so your final 2 products, I go back and adjust the grades all the way in unit 1 because if you got 7 out of 10, but now your unit 8 is 10 out of 10, it's not your fault that in unit 1 you didn't understand. So I do go back and fix the grades to align with whatever unit 8 is, but I'm not going to let anybody fail. I am happy to meet on Teams, if there's like a one-on-one, happy to do that. So you're not going to fail. You're going to be successful, everybody. If you do what I say, basically, you're going to have to you're the student, right? I'm the teacher. You got to trust me. And we say that to our students, trust me. Okay. Just do this and you will see why. It's the same thing, but we're
Thank you
grown-ups.
so
So we
much.
want to
It
know
means
why,
so much to all
like
of us.
what now?
It means so much to all of
Oh,
us,
well,
even
I'm
those who
glad.
could not come because of the time.
Yeah.
But an instructor being so open and comfortable and adjusting and answering all our queries, it means a lot to us. Thank you
Good,
so
good,
much.
good. I'm glad.
And I'm so glad I met Oscar also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in
And
the
we
whole
will
course, I
be,
think
yeah,
it
we
is
will be
one, yeah, teammate whom
thinking
I could
about you.
see.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you still have your dad, Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I have my
Okay, well,
father.
that's good. Well, I'm glad you're there for them. So, if you run into an issue where you weren't able to submit on time because of mom or dad, just email me. I'm never at this point in your career in school, if you are submitting late, you have a good reason. That's the way I see it. Now in the earlier classes, you have to meet the timeline. But here, Oscar, I know you got terrible stuff going on. So if you run into a problem and you can't upload, just send me a note. I mean, I'm not going to go, Oscar, you didn't submit anything, but if you say this is why, or just, you don't even have to say anything if you're busy, right? Like I trust you. So
Thank you very
don't
much.
worry
I,
that you're gonna get a 0 because you're not. Because again, all the grades are whatever you get in unit 8 is your grade each week.
okay, I really appreciate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel for you. So I guess I just hope everybody's comfortable. That's about the best I think you can get. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I will hang out. So if there's something you want to talk about, but I'm going to let you two hang up and before I hang up and then we'll say next time.
Okay,
All
Thank
right.
you.
Dr.
See
Ball,
you.
thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you
It's
so
Have a
a
good rest of
much.
your
real
day.
pleasure to meet you.
Oh, yes, you too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
Have a good day.
okay, she likes me. It's a pleasure to meet you too. Have a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. And just 2 months before, I had to go through the same with my father. We had to amputate his leg. So I was in the
Oh,
middle of
I'm
the
sorry.
course. So I can totally understand how it is. Anytime I am available, we are all there for each other. Thank you
Yeah.
so
You
much.
just reach out. Just reach out.
Okay, thank you very much,
All
and I'm
right.
sorry for the father.
Oh, yeah. No, we're glad
Okay,
you're here. Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.